Hello everyone, this video tells the story in which the brother was entrusted with the management of the restaurant and is the first couple of the death. He almost poisoned a goose. It's a really interesting story. European in the comments, enjoy your waving.
My brother was assigned to manage a restaurant, and in the first few days he almost poisoned a guest, so our father asked him to step down. My name is Sarah, and I'm a 31-year-old woman. About 2 months ago, I organized a retirement party for my father. He was stepping down from his role as the manager of our family restaurant after dedicating nearly his entire life to it. Now, at almost 64 years old, he expressed his exhaustion and desire to pass the business on to the next generation. I foolishly believed he was referring to me, as I had dedicated the past 6 years of my life to this restaurant. Our family operates a chain of Italian restaurants, with 2 additional branches located across the city. One is managed by my uncle, while the other is overseen by his daughter. However, our main location, the original restaurant my grandfather opened, is the most popular and is owned by my father. My uncle, who is not my dad's biological brother, joined the business when my grandfather launched the first restaurant. This is where the business initially began. The original site of our restaurant, the one my grandparents started and managed for many years, was eventually handed over to my father. He expanded the business by opening 2 new restaurants in different parts of the city. My uncle left his job to manage one of these new locations, and his daughter took over when she was ready. Thus, the business has always remained within the family. When my father announced his retirement a few weeks before the party, I naturally anticipated he would pass the torch to me. My uncle, being around the same age as my father and planning to retire soon as well, was not in the running. His daughter had only been managing the new location for 2 years, far less experience than my 6-year dedication. Since I was 24, I left my corporate job to work with my father, aiming to inherit the family business and take it to new heights. It seemed obvious that I was the best candidate to take over. My older brother James, 37, had no interest in the restaurant business, having chosen a career in medicine as a doctor. My younger brother Mark, 27, showed no ambition or interest in anything, spending his days idly. He is a good-for-nothing loafer, and nobody in the family except our parents tolerates his behavior. While I have no issue with his lack of direction, his attitude is infuriating. Despite achieving nothing, he acts entitled, believing he deserves the best of everything. Our parents enable this behavior, shutting down any attempts by James and me to address it by insisting he needs encouragement to find his path. On the day of my father's retirement party, he blindsided me by announcing that Mark would be inheriting the business. I was shocked. It never occurred to me to demand written confirmation because I assumed it was understood that I would be the one to take over. Mark, who had never shown any interest or dedication, was now the heir to our family's legacy. It was a slap in the face. As expected, Mark's lack of experience quickly led to disaster. Less than 2 months into managing the restaurant, he nearly caused a customer with severe allergies to be hospitalized. The incident made headlines, damaging our restaurant's reputation. My father, now realizing his mistake, came back to me, pleading for my help to fix the chaos Mark had created. He begged me to return and take charge, admitting that I was the one who truly deserved to inherit the business. Now, I am faced with the decision of whether to return and save the family business or let it collapse under Mark's incompetence. My dedication and hard work had been overlooked once, and I'm not sure if I am ready to forgive and step back into a role I rightfully earned. Lucas, my younger brother, who is now 28, has been living off our parents for years. He finished community college 3 years ago, and since then he has been dismissed from more than 5 jobs. His attitude is a major issue. He seems to think he is superior to everyone and cannot be questioned. Our family tolerates it, but in the real world, his behavior is unacceptable, especially to employers, which is why he's been fired from every job within months. He lacks skills and direction, and even his previous jobs were secured by our father's connections. He's just a colossal failure, unable to find his own path in life. For the past 2 years after losing his last job, he's been sitting at home, sponging off our parents without a hint of shame. It's incredibly frustrating because our parents don't challenge him and allow him to live this way. It's unfair because when it came to me and my older brother Matthew, they constantly pushed us to excel. Matthew and I have built successful lives, but seeing them coddle Lucas is infuriating. He's spoiled and I can't stand him. We were close as kids, but everything changed in high school. Now, we barely get along. He has zero experience in the business and no understanding of how it operates. So it was a massive shock to everyone when my dad announced that Lucas would inherit the business. My father had declared his retirement a couple of months before the party, and everyone knew about aita employees and family alike. As someone who had been working closely with my father for 6 years, I naturally expected to take over after his retirement. We never had an explicit conversation about it, which I now regret. I assumed it was a given, and that assumption led to my downfall. My father had dropped hints, mentioning things he wanted me to do after he retired, so I interpreted that as a sign that I would be in charge. It never crossed my mind that he might not leave the business to me because I trusted him completely. He had always been loving and respectful towards me as both a daughter and an employee. When he announced that Lucas would take over, I was stunned. So was everyone else at the party, including our employees and my mother. Everyone had believed I would inherit the business, considering I had been dedicated to it for 6 years, ensuring everything was perfect. After all my hard work, it was Lucas who would take over. It was incomprehensible. When my father pulled Lucas aside and Lucas smugly accepted his new role, it finally hit me, and I stormed out of the restaurant in tears, feeling utterly devastated. A few minutes later, my father followed me outside, attempting to justify his decision. Despite my frustration, I decided to listen to him. His reasoning, however, was as illogical as his decision. He explained that he knew Lucas was incompetent and had spent the last 2 years trying to motivate him to find a job and do something with his life. Lucas had been taking everything lightly, and my father thought that giving him the responsibility of managing the restaurant might force him to step up and become a better worker. My father believed that since Lucas would now be working to support his own life and the family business, he would have a personal stake in it, unlike his previous jobs where he had none. He hoped that this new role would motivate Lucas to be more dedicated, and if not, at least it would get him out of the house. My father told me he still wanted me to work at the restaurant, essentially doing the same tasks I had done for him, but now for Lucas. He wanted me to be the real manager while Lucas would just be the figurehead, hoping it would encourage Lucas to improve. I found this incredibly insulting. My father expected me to be Lucas' assistant, shadowing him despite knowing I was far more capable. I am not my brother's caretaker. I am my own person who had worked hard enough to earn the position that was unjustly given to Lucas. Even after my father's explanation, I remained unconvinced and upset. I gave my father an ultimatum: either take back his decision and give me the position, or lose me forever. Unfortunately, this led to a terrible argument. He accused me of being unreasonable and selfish, not considering my brother's future. I retorted that he was equally selfish, ignoring my future. The argument ended with us cutting ties. My father refused to revoke the decision, and I felt deeply insulted. I decided I would never return. The day after the retirement party was the last day I spent at the restaurant. It's been over a month now, and I still haven't gone back. I have kept in touch with my mother and my older brother James, but we avoid discussing the restaurant. They know it's a sore subject for me and refrain from bringing it up. Until a few days ago, I had no idea how things were going there. I haven't spoken to my father since our fight, and I don't talk to Lucas anyway, so nothing changed there. After quitting, I started applying for other jobs. After leaving the restaurant, I did receive regular pay like any other staff member, and I had some savings to rely on for a while. I had planned to go on a trip next week, but those plans might be on hold because I may need to return to the restaurant. My brother, as expected, made a massive blunder. He knew nothing about managing a restaurant, and I have no idea why my dad thought it was wise to let him run things unsupervised, just to show trust and boost his confidence. Clearly, my brother's feelings were deemed more important than the family business and practical matters. Lucas made numerous irresponsible financial decisions and began skimping on essential ingredients, leading to significant trouble. We cater to vegans and maintain a separate vegan menu, ensuring that vegan food is not contaminated with non-vegan products. Lucas decided to shut down the dedicated vegan area to save kitchen space and started adulterating vegan products to cut costs. It was only a matter of time before he got caught, and that moment arrived a few days ago. He instructed the staff to use regular dairy milk instead of the more expensive soy milk, completely forgetting that some people are allergic to dairy. Predictably, someone ordered a milk-based dessert, specifically requesting soy milk or another dairy-free alternative. If one of our regular employees had prepared the dessert, they would have ignored Lucas' instructions and followed the customer's request. Unfortunately, Lucas had hired a new, inexperienced employee and tasked him with reporting anyone who didn't follow his orders. This new hire, following Lucas' strict instructions, ignored the customer's request and used regular dairy milk, doing a poor job of it. The customer had a severe allergic reaction and is now threatening to sue the restaurant. My father called me that evening, clearly panicking, and explained the situation. He told me he had fired Lucas immediately upon discovering his actions and now wanted me to come back and take over the position I had originally wanted. It was surreal to hear him ask for my return after Lucas' inevitable failure. Despite still feeling hurt and angry from a month ago, I couldn't resist having a good laugh at their predicament. Over the phone, I told my dad that there was no way I was coming back, regardless of the circumstances. I told my dad that if he genuinely wanted me to return, I demanded a public apology in front of all the restaurant staff and our family. He needed to announce that he had fired Lucas and admit his mistakes, then officially give me the position. I didn't think I was asking for too much, given the public humiliation I endured at the retirement party. I was deeply hurt by his actions, and now that he needed me, I wanted him to fix the situation. However, my mom thought it was excessive, and my dad refused on the phone. He argued that the business was as much mine as his, and while he might have made a mistake, my demands were unreasonable and degrading. Was I wrong for insisting on a public apology from my father if he wanted me to rejoin the family business after choosing my brother over me? Update 1. Hey everyone, I want to start by thanking all of you who took the time to comment on my original post and offer advice and support. Your concern means a lot to me, and I truly appreciate it. Now, on to my decision. After taking a few days to think it over, I've decided to return to the business. It wasn't an easy choice because I had to swallow my pride, but I've invested 6 years of my life in that place. Regardless of everything, I still want to be the one to take the business forward. I don't want to see it shut down, especially since my dad won't be around forever. My older brother James has no interest in it, as I mentioned before, and Lucas is obviously neither capable nor competent enough to manage anything, let alone a business of this magnitude. So it has to be me. I also spoke to my uncle and cousin from the other 2 locations, and they agreed that I should come back. They believe it's rightfully mine, and if my father is asking me to return, I need to put our past issues behind us and come back because the restaurant is my passion. I don't want to see it fail, Honestly, I would have preferred a public apology from my dad, but I don't want to create a spectacle and gloat about being right about Lucas. That won't bring me any joy compared to the satisfaction of seeing our restaurant succeed. I've decided to pick my battles and let this one go for my own good. I spoke to my dad this morning, and it was a very formal and brief conversation. We've decided to set aside our past differences and focus on the current crisis. We've arranged a meeting with our lawyers and the customer who had the allergic reaction to negotiate and reach an out-of-court settlement. She's been posting about the incident on social media relentlessly. So far, we've been lucky that she hasn't gained much traction, but that won't last, and we need to address this before it gets out of hand. Update 2. Yesterday, I met my father in person for the first time in a long while. We met before our meeting with the customer to discuss everything with our lawyer one final time. It felt strange seeing him after so long. Before this incident, I used to see my dad almost every day for 5 years, and I hadn't realized how much I missed him until we finally met in person. We didn't talk much because our lawyer did most of the talking, and we had to focus on the important matters at hand. It was clear that there were many unresolved issues between us, but it wasn't the right time to address them. He hasn't properly apologized to me yet, nor has he mentioned the incident from a month ago, but our interaction was cordial and civil. Given this was our first face-to-face meeting since our big fight, I expected it to be awkward, but it wasn't, and I'm grateful for that. After the meeting, he invited me to come home to see my mom, as it had been a long time since I last visited. However, I had to decline because I had already committed to attending a friend's engagement party that evening. I also asked him if Lucas was still living at home, and my dad told me that Lucas had moved out shortly after being fired. I was curious about where Lucas was living and how it happened, but my dad didn't offer any more details, making it clear he didn't want to discuss it further. I later spoke to James, who confirmed that Lucas had moved out a few days after being fired, but he didn't know if it was Lucas's choice or if our parents had asked him to leave. This situation remains unclear, and I plan to talk to my dad about it later to understand what's going on. The meeting with the customer went better than expected. Given the serious breach of ethical standards, I assumed it would be rough. What happened was unacceptable and wouldn't have occurred if my dad or I had been in charge. The customer was reasonable and explained that the reason she had threatened to sue and complained so much on social media was because, even after the incident, the manager insisted that it was her fault for not specifying her dairy allergy and not mentioning she wanted soy milk. This blame-shifting made her agitated, as she knew it wasn't her fault. We realized how foolish Lucas had been when we learned the full story. The customer had initially refused to discuss the matter without her lawyer, and on her social media posts, she mentioned the management's behavior without going into detail, fearing a defamation lawsuit from Lucas, who had been contacting her to take down her posts and accusing her of lying. He even threatened to sue her, which is why she hadn't provided more details publicly. The waiter who took her order was scared of losing his job, so he sided with Lucas, and I don't blame him for it. These are people who need their jobs to support themselves, and Lucas had created an environment of fear and mistrust. The new employee Lucas had hired was never going to turn against him, so he claimed that the customer never mentioned soy milk or any dairy alternatives. He insisted the customer was fabricating the story to defame us, likely hoping to get some compensation. We assured the customer that the person responsible had been terminated and we were now in charge, promising to ensure that such an incident would never happen again. Thankfully, we reached a settlement, and she agreed to take down her posts and let the matter go. Although we lost a significant amount of money, we managed to clean up the mess Lucas had created, allowing my dad and me to finally breathe a sigh of relief. Update 3. Hello, it's been a month since I rejoined the restaurant, and I have never felt happier. It took me a month to realize just how miserable I had been when I wasn't working here. Despite the differences I've had with my father, I love this place and want to take it to new heights, and that's exactly what I plan to do. My father and I are also trying to mend our relationship, and we've made considerable progress. I've been in regular contact with my parents, and we've decided that as a family, we need to spend more time together. I had a heartfelt conversation with my dad a couple of weeks ago about working at the restaurant again. He and my mother expressed their regret for the way they treated me and James. They admitted that they always viewed Lucas as the weakest link among us and wanted to uplift him to our level, but in doing so, they probably inflated his ego beyond repair. When my father fired him, it hurt his pride, and Lucas decided to move out, cutting off communication with everyone. However, my dad managed to gather information from a few people and found out that Lucas is currently living with a friend and working at a local video game store. At least he's doing something and trying to get by on his own, which is a positive step for him. Our family, including James and his wife, now gets together for dinner every weekend. Although Lucas has been invited several times, he has refused to respond, which is his personal choice. It doesn't bother me since I have no interest in interacting with him. I wish him well, but prefer to keep my distance. Spending more time with my family has been wonderful, and my father and I are finally returning to a place of normalcy. I love it. Life has been pretty great recently, and I have no complaints. I'm finally doing what I love and building something I believe in. I couldn't ask for more, and being back on good terms with my family is the icing on the cake. I think that's pretty much all anyone needs to be happy. Update 4. A few months after I rejoined the restaurant, things started to stabilize. We implemented new policies to prevent any more disasters like the one Lucas caused. Customer satisfaction improved, and our reputation began to recover. The restaurant was bustling again, and I was more determined than ever to make it thrive. One evening, while closing up, I received an unexpected call from Lucas. He sounded different, less arrogant, more reflective. He asked if we could meet for coffee the next day. Reluctantly, I agreed, curious about what he had to say. When we met, Lucas looked tired but sincere. He apologized for everything, his attitude, his mistakes, and the way he treated me and the business. He explained that moving out and working at the video game store had been a wake-up call. For the first time, he was experiencing life without the safety net of our parents, and it made him realize how much he had taken for granted. Lucas expressed a genuine interest in learning about the restaurant business, not to take over, but to understand the hard work and dedication it required. He wanted to earn his place in the family, not have it handed to him. I was skeptical but agreed to give him a chance under strict conditions. He would start at the bottom like any new employee and work his way up. Over the next few months, Lucas worked diligently. He took on every task with humility and eagerness to learn. Slowly, he started to earn the respect of the staff. My father and I kept a close eye on him, and to our surprise, he was genuinely changing. One day, we received an invitation to a prestigious culinary event in the city. It was an opportunity to showcase our restaurant and potentially attract more high-end clientele. I decided to take a risk and let Lucas help with the preparations. He worked tirelessly alongside the team, and the event was a massive success. Our restaurant received rave reviews, and business boomed. Lucas's transformation was remarkable. He had gone from a spoiled, arrogant brat to a hard-working, reliable member of our team. Our family dynamic also improved. We started having weekly family dinners, and even Lucas began attending. The tension that once defined our relationships began to fade. Then, another unexpected event occurred. Our cousin, who had been managing one of the other restaurant branches, decided to move abroad for further studies. This left a managerial position open. After much discussion, my father and I decided to offer the position to Lucas. He had proven himself over the past year, and we believed he was ready for more responsibility. Lucas accepted the role with gratitude and determination. He worked hard to manage the new branch, and his efforts paid off. The restaurant flourished under his leadership, and our family business reached new heights. As for me, I continued to lead our original location, but now with a sense of fulfillment and pride. The restaurant was not just a business, it was a symbol of our family's perseverance and unity. My relationship with my father was stronger than ever, and Lucas had become someone I could respect and trust. Life has a way of surprising you, and sometimes the most unexpected changes lead to the greatest rewards. I learned that forgiveness and giving people a second chance can bring about incredible transformations. Our family had been through a lot, but we came out stronger, united by our love for each other and our dedication to the family business.
Hello guys, it's really interesting story. What is it? Write comment, put like, subscribe to channel, Instagram and Discord. Good luck!